Your Auburn Tigers are SEC regular champs, making history yesterday in Lexington, Kentucky. Let's talk about it on this edition of the Uptempo Podcast. Yes, sir. Good morning, Auburn family. Feel good. Hey, before we get started, I make a promise. I'm not going to cut out on y'all halfway through. And if I do, I'll fire this thing back up and we'll keep it going, man. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Uptempo Podcast. Dustin Smith and Blake Lane. Two guys that woke up like you guys, feeling like SEC champs today, baby. Yeah. Outright. Shout out to everybody up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Tough day over there in Tuscaloosa. I hate to see that for you guys. I really, really do. But, man, Auburn goes into Lexington, Kentucky. First time since 1988. I wish I would have got to see the completion of it. Got to see about 60-something% of it. But big-time win for our Auburn Tigers, man. One of the biggest wins in the history of the program as far as regular season goes. Bruce Pearl has checked a lot of boxes at Auburn. There was a couple. That national championship, obviously, kind of still sitting there. That win in Gainesville and that win in Rupp. And they checked another one off yesterday, man. So big time. We know that Kentucky's dominated SEC basketball for a long time, up until everybody else decided to get serious about it. Now all of a sudden it looks like we're catching up to you. But yeah, man, just a big time win for Auburn. It feels really, really good, Blake. And me and you talked about this a week or two ago where we said, you know, this SEC regular season title in the most difficult year that the SEC has ever had, it really, really means something. And I think I heard somebody, one of these ESPN pundits say something smart for an actual change yesterday. He said Auburn might lose out and still be a 1 seed at this point with the resume that they've built. So SEC regular champs, man, on top of the most ridiculous non-conference schedule that I've ever seen. What a year it's been, Blake, and what a day yesterday was. Finally getting that win in Lexington, Kentucky, dude.
I think Auburn's a lock for the number 1 overall seed, regardless if we rest players this next week or whatever happens. You know, I just think the resume that you've put together is too strong. I think Auburn is by far clear cut number 1 in the country. And coming into yesterday, well, people were like, "Hey, we don't feel good about this one," and I said, "Why? Why do we not feel good about this one?" I'm just kind of nervous in the Uptempo game day group chat. I'm just kind of nervous. I don't feel good about it. I said, dub. And the reason why I said dub is because I've watched Kentucky numerous times this year. They don't play defense. They don't play defense. They can fill it up. But I like Auburn's defense to slow down their offense. I like Auburn to run them off the 3-point line. And I believe in the sharpshooters that Auburn's got. So all the signs pointed to Auburn as a dub yesterday, in my opinion. And I never felt nervous. I never felt like we were going to lose the game. I think it was belt to ass from opening tip. And Miles Kelly, Chad Baker-Mazar, Tahad Pettiford, all stepped up. Denver goes down. Praying for him. Hope he gets back soon. Get well, too. We love you to death, man. He's been just so damn big for this team. Let's not even downplay what Denver Jones has done for the Auburn Tigers. It's been incredible. But you have 3 guys get it done for you. And Kentucky's the biggest thing that could have happened for Kentucky was for Janai Broome to have his worst game of the year. Just be absolutely terrible. And you still got clocked by 16. And Janai was bad. At one point, I said, "Hey, big fella, turn to your passing. Give it to your guys. Don't force it. You ain't got to force it. Just feed your guys." Because Miles Kelly, I mean, bro was throwing it into the ocean. I mean, the bank was open. You know, he was just feeling it. Heat check after heat check. But Kentucky's recipe, man, you got Janai's worst game, but you let 3 other dudes go off on you. And I loved every second seeing Chad Baker get to that mid-range jumper, that floater, doing all that, man. Chad Baker, I mean, he hit that little run where he wasn't he was kind of off offensively, right?
Yeah.
And the last couple he's been way on. I mean, my buddy has been seeing it go through, and it's fun celebrating your first time since 1988 at Rupp Arena. We all know that Kentucky's a blue blood, and you know they were the standard in college basketball and SEC basketball for years. And to go up there and pull out the belts on their court, Miles and Tahad lay BTA on the baseline after the game. It was special to see, because now we're daddy of the SEC. We're the king. You bow to us. Don't talk back, because if so, we'll have to go get the belt. All right, you bow to us now. And what really puts the icing on top of all this is 2 things. There's been this battle back and forth between Alabama and Auburn. Who can win SEC championships? Who can go further in the tournament? Is Nate Oates a better coach than Bruce Pearl? Vice versa. And this is the year where it's the toughest conference in the country. Some say, Jay Billis says, the toughest conference ever in the history of college basketball.
I had to mute Jay yesterday. I didn't hear that.
He said it's the toughest ever. All right.
Had to mute him.
I know he is not Auburn at all. But you got to get it. He played it. Yeah. I get it. Cooper flag and all that. I understand it 100%. But Auburn goes out and just absolutely dominates the conference this year. And there's still 2 games to play, and you've already wrapped this thing up. You're champions outright. Stephen Pearl said it best yesterday. Took off an SEC champion, landed an outright SEC champion. And now you've won your 5th championship in 8 years, like Bruce Pearl said yesterday in the postgame. Y'all, I laid down some stats a couple weeks ago. Auburn only had 9 20-win seasons before BP got here. In history, that's over 100 years of work. They only had 9. Like, you got to sit on that. You got to think on that. And BP has completely turned this program around. Shout out to Chuck for what he's done. But that thing between Alabama and Auburn, and it's like Auburn answered the call. Alabama went to the Final Four last year. You lost to Yale. How do you respond? You respond by saying, "Hey, we're gonna win the SEC regular season championship. We're gonna be number 1 in the country for 8 straight weeks. 8 straight weeks." And a couple weeks before that, you sat at number 2 behind Tennessee. So you've been the top 2 team. You've been a top 2 team in the country for what, going on 11, 12 weeks now?
Yeah.
You haven't moved off that line. And then I go out last night, Dustin, to celebrate my dad's birthday. My dad turned 58 years old this week. And
happy birthday to your pops.
Appreciate that, man. And I know a lot of you, if you know my dad, he is a diehard Auburn fan. I mean, tatted on his body. He is a diehard Auburn fan. And so we couldn't go out to eat last night because he was like, "Hey, let's wait till the game's over, yada, yada, yada." And we're sitting there, and Dad's like, he asked the guy, he says, "Hey, man, put that Alabama-Tennessee game on TV." You know, we were eating hibachi, and TV's in the background. And we're all sitting there, and we're watching, and we're like, you know, come on, Tennessee, pull through. And Meshack dribbles across the timeline, bro. When he rises up, I mean, and it went in. We almost Dad gets up, and I mean, he's going crazy. Sushi's like, I mean, it's just sitting there rattling on the table. You don't know if you're about to lose your roll. My shrimp and scallops. I mean, I knocked my plate. I mean, when I jumped up, I was like, oh my God, like he hit it. We're champs, you know.
Yeah.
My brother's going crazy and all that. So, like it was just awesome to celebrate. Like that was the icing, is to watch Alabama get beat in that fashion. And we get crowned as SEC champions. That's call God type stuff.
A 5-second violation, Blake. A
With
5-second.
With 2 timeouts left.
Ooh.
And hey, that's another point. Nate Oates, Bruce Pearl, who's the better coach? You had 2 timeouts left, dog, and you stood there for 5 seconds.
What's your username on the Xbox again?
Nate Chokes. It is Nate Chokes, and it's Nate Chokes for a reason. So. Yeah, it was fun to watch. And look, I'm big on my guys from Mobile, but LeBaron Filan was committed to Auburn. He was committed to Auburn, and he decommitted, and he chose to go to Alabama. And he stepped up to the free throw line yesterday in a 2-point game with about 30 seconds left, and all he had to do was make 2 free throws, and he clanked one. That kept Tennessee in the game. And it felt good.
Right.
It felt good because I said, hey, he was committed to Auburn, and he decommitted and ended up going to Alabama. And we're SEC champs now. The Auburn Tigers are SEC champs now. And it felt good when that free throw rattled out. I said, oh, boy, look at here. This is going to give Tennessee a chance. You know, I'm just great stuff yesterday. Look, yesterday was something to really sit down and cherish as an Auburn fan. Like we won an SEC championship in basketball. Our baseball team, who was 7-23 last year in SEC play, goes out to Texas. Man, they beat a top 10 opponent in Oregon State, an Oregon State team that's really, really good. And you find a way to win a baseball game. And the track and field, I saw some success over there. Equestrian, somebody on Twitter just hit me up, said Equestrian beat UGA yesterday. Like there was multiple things. The softball team, y'all look at the softball team. Unreal. The softball team's absolutely, I think they're 18-1 right now. Yeah. Incredible stuff. It's crazy what happens when you get rid of old Mickey Dean. And
coaching makes a difference, don't it?
Coaching makes a difference. And so it's just special stuff going on at Auburn right now. I can't even. I wish we could go back to yesterday and just yeah. get to see that last 6 to 7 minutes and watch our team celebrate. But shout out to the guy who was 40 rows up and live streamed it and gave the Auburn fans something to watch. Shout out to the radio crew, Andy, all those guys for turning the screen around, doing anything they could for Auburn fans to get to see yesterday. And how great of a performance these kids put on. And, hey, how about the social media team, too? Again, Dustin, getting the reaction of Janai and Dylan and Miles and all these cats sitting there when Meshack hit that 3 and they realized, hey, there ain't no sharing, baby. We're outright. Like, I thought that was a pretty cool piece of content. And yesterday was fun, man. War damn Eagle.
Yeah. I got it pulled up here. I can't say a lot of these people's names. They're from a side of the world, other side of the world. So I don't want to, botch any of these. I can't even get that out. But a lot of these people on Auburn track and field yesterday, I got silver medals, gold medals, bronze medals. So, and last year I watched the SEC championships for track and field, and if you've ever watched any track and field, Auburn's been at the bottom of the SEC for a long time. And I started seeing Auburn rising up and placing in events and starting to really be competitive. And I felt like, hey, this track and field program might be coming. And they made a big statement yesterday. A lot of golds, silvers, a lot of bronzes, a lot of guys placed over there. So shout out to all those young men and women. on the Auburn track and field team, doing a great job over there. Shout out to the softball team, like you said, unique situation when he's hired 2 head coaches, didn't really know what to make of it, other than that they were super successful at their other stops. They've come in and done a great job right out the gate. Baseball, like you said, big time win. Oregon State last night. I'm sure we're going to do content on that. They're playing really well. I feel like we've made some improvements, but I also think back to last year and we looked really great until SEC play started. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself with
Yeah.
baseball, but so far so good with all that, man. And yeah, like you said, I wish we could go back and watch this last 8 to 10 minutes of that basketball game. I ended up watching Andy and them turning the camera around. I saw the guy up there in the nosebleeds that had turned around. I think he was a Kentucky fan. So shout out to him for keeping that up and giving us.
Was he?
Yeah. I think his username was like something Big Blue Nation or something. So.
Oh, wow.
So shout out to him for keeping that up for us to be able to see that and everything. And I want to. You mentioned that shot from Tennessee there, and Bruce Pearl is all the data you need. Says people mad at Auburn players reacting to the Tennessee man.
Yeah.
Listen, man. You see this every year, especially like in the NFL. There's always that last week of the NFL season. There's always a team that's like they need to win, and then they got another team playing at 3:00, and they need that team to lose. So their game ends, and they're all sitting in the locker room, and they're waiting. Are we going to the playoffs, or are we not? And ultimately, if they make it, there's one back of the day of the Bills. I think it was when Andy Dalton was still with the Bengals. He won a big game, and it threw the Bills into the playoffs for the first time in forever. And all the Bills fans ended up getting Andy Dalton, who was the Bengals quarterback at the time. They helped his charity out and all this kind of stuff because his win over another team propelled their Bills into the playoffs. So, yeah, dude, this is just stupid people that, as they like to say behind their burners, cope. They don't know how to cope or don't really understand sports. Like, we needed that to win the outright SEC championship. You saw it in the clip of their reaction. They didn't want to share it. That's the first thing they said when that ball went through that hoop. They said, we ain't sharing shit. I ain't sharing nothing with y'all. Outright SEC champs. Now, I will say this. If I'm Bama, I'm watching that clip because we still got to play him again. So let's finish the job with that, and let's not split with Bama this year. Let's get that thing done and beat them both times and complete that sweep. But, yeah, this is a dumb – that's a dumb take.
Do you rest people against Bama?
Me? No. I don't, Blake. So in any sport, I don't believe in that unless the injury is like super severe. I've just seen too many times where I think it. I think it hurts you.
Yeah, I think it affects the rhythm and flow.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Now, Denver Jones is a different story because Denver's sister said there's a bone bruise. So I would rather him be 100% healthy for the tournament than play against Alabama and maybe, hurt it even worse or something like that to affect us in the tournament. If we lost to Alabama in the last game, this is like, do I want to sweep them? Yes. But you can't take away anything from me right now. Like,
I hear you. I feel like we might see him again too. Like, there's a good possibility
that could happen. That could happen. That's Final Four maybe.
Oh boy, could you imagine?
That'd be hype, man. That really would. I think it would be more hype than the game in Tuscaloosa.
Oh yeah.
Like, it would have you thought the media coverage on that game was big. The media coverage on the Final Four game would be just even bigger. There would be more celebrities there. Yeah. But that's my only thing is like when people were saying, do you rest Janai? Do you rest Janai? I didn't want to rest Janai. I kept telling people in the comments and YouTube, I was saying, maybe if you get a big lead, maybe if you get up by 20, let him go sit. But like, you got to keep playing him, man. You can't let Janai go sit for 2 weeks and then bring him back. And I don't know. I don't believe in the whole, rest this guy. It's week 17, rest this guy. I don't know.
Like, I don't like when my team has won a couple games in a row and then they come upon a bye. Unless they're really banged up. But I
Yeah,
just when you're playing well, man, I like to stay in the flow. And I don't know Denver's. I don't know the severity of the injury. I know what his sister said. I can
yeah,
imagine that the Auburn coaches were probably like, "Don't we don't want you putting out
yeah. I know.
medical info on the internets there." But yeah, I don't really know how bad the bone bruise is and all that, and I know they'll be smart about it. I think what sucks about it is just like the JP McGee situation. If
Yeah,
JP was serviceable, then it's like, okay, do whatever you got to do there and you can get away with it. So we are going to need Tahad to step up here. Very well could face Bama down the way. I want to sweep him, dude. I want
I
to
do
sweep him.
too.
I don't
I do too.
I don't want to split with him. Daniel says, but the March run is more important, and we're not going to get anywhere without a healthy Denver Jones.
That's true.
Daniel says, War Damn Eagle regular season champs. ABC sucks. ABC does suck. And I'm going to add on ESPN there because they are hand in hand. That's ABC and ESPN are tied together. And I don't know how all that works, but it's the same thing basically when it comes to broadcasting sports. They're all owned by Disney, which is a company that has completely gone down the drain. Yeah,
Most
man, it's
overrated place in the world, by the way. Too.
very,
Disney World
very
sucks. I just
awful.
yeah. It's terrible. It's a waste of money in my opinion. I've never had fun there ever. Uh, I took my daughter and she was just like
Right.
whatever. Um, I don't know. I don't get the whole Disney thing. I don't get the whole. It
Yeah,
is
my
what it
dad
is.
my dad took me down there one time when I was a kid, Blake, and all I wanted to do was to find a way to go to the Magic game up the road.
Yeah.
Are we not playing any ball? What are we doing here?
Yeah. Get
Yeah,
out of here.
yeah, like where are the sports, Dad? This yeah, it was terrible, man. Really, 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 really pathetic. ESPN is just crashed and burned in every aspect, man. The only reason ESPN even exists now, and this is documented. I mean, you can go look up all of this stuff. Um, the only reason they even exist anymore is because of the broadcasting, because of the actual games, because millions of people will tune in to watch, these, especially college football games. Like you're gonna get what was it? Auburn, Oklahoma got like 7 million people. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it does numbers. It does numbers. So they exist for that reason. But what ESPN was when people of me and Blake's age eating your Fruit Loops before you got on the school bus and watching Stuart Scott and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Those days of Sports Center, man, and ESPN being the worldwide leader in sports, that's over. That's done. You ever want to see some of the worst sports talk you'll ever see in your life? Turn on First Take for 15 minutes if you can make it. If you can get past 5 minutes of Ryan Clark's hate and vitriol and nonsense, if you can
Hmm.
get past 30 seconds of Molly Karam, oh my God, it's unwatchable. So, yeah, I have no
Dog
problem.
water.
Yeah, and I have a tweet that's gone pretty viral. I mean, at this point, people from ESPN are replying to it. So yeah, they suck. Their network sucks. I think it's hilarious. It's a hilarious Auburn thing that we get our first win in Rupp since 1988, and we don't even get to watch it. It's just like, come on, bro. Like this is the one. This is the one that's gonna cut out on us on. It did suck. It did suck. And look, I know that there was some kind of fire in the production truck, and I'm glad everybody's okay. And you
Hmm.
know, look, me and Blake do live. Obviously, not to that scale, but we go live sometimes, and we've had technical difficulties. We get it. They got a little bit bigger budget than us.
That's
Okay,
a
a little
fact.
bit, a little bit bigger budget than us. Top 20 matchup, and I'm gonna bitch as an Auburn fan here and say,
Yeah.
hey, Auburn played a top 20 basketball team yesterday as the number one team in the country. Weren't able to finish the game because of production issues. And then we're ranked in baseball, and we played a top 10 team in baseball, ranked on ranked matchup, and that was nowhere to be found. In 2025, when everybody's got a streaming service, I didn't get to watch two massive wins for Auburn yesterday. And I think that's really ridiculous. So
Yep.
thank you for the super chat, Daniel. And yes, ABC is all they're awful. ESPN is awful. Disney sucks. It is one of the worst companies in the world. If it wasn't for the broadcasting rights, they would no longer exist. And I feel very confident about this. I'll say it publicly. there are guys. I'll even go outside of our network. I think that Mike G and I could go on ESPN and crush, right,
For
and do
sure.
great, right. But to seem unbiased, I'll go outside of our network. Guys like Zach, Daryl Dapprich, the guys over at 247, the guys over at On Three, guys that we've never done any work with,
Mm-hmm.
much better at their jobs and at this media stuff than the people at the top at ESPN. I mean, just
Yeah.
miles better. So yeah, I can't say how about it. They just suck. They just suck, and I think they'll be dead in 10, 15 years.
Dustin, I'm gonna fit this one in here real quick. Um, Key says you cannot say the SEC championship means nothing, then turn around and say it's important to win a meaningless regular season game. Only Final Four matters. That's been your take forever. And then he says tournament championship is what I'm talking about. All right, Keith. I'm going to lay down why I think the SEC tournament championship means absolutely nothing. And I said a little bit about this the other night. Doesn't hold a lot of value to me at all, matter of fact. And the reason why is because they told us that they watch these tournament championships. Right? They sit down in front of the TV, the selection committee watches them. Auburn went in last year as a 4 seed to the SEC tournament. They won the SEC tournament and come out a 4 seed in the most difficult region in the NCAA tournament.
Mm.
It holds no value. There's nothing there. Cool, you won a tournament that lasted 5 days. They've showed us, they've proven it. There's the only value it holds is if South Carolina was to go in and win the SEC tournament,
Arkansas
or Tennessee, Texas. That's the only value it holds. That's it. That is it. It's just not what it used to be, because they're showing us that they don't care about it, that they've already got their brackets wrote up. Like, by that time Auburn played last year on a Sunday, their bracket was already selected. They already knew what Auburn was going to be. And then they said, oh, wow, this is going to look really stupid because Auburn just won the SEC tournament. We got them as a 4 seed. Do we take them off the 4 line? No, we leave them there. It holds no value. Now, the value that Alabama and Auburn does hold is you go into their house and you wax them, all right? Then you come back home. You let them walk in your house after you've won the SEC championship, and they beat you. And then what happens? What are they going to say? They're going to say, well, y'all won the SEC championship, but we beat y'all in Neville, the little 9,000 seated arena that's supposed to be the toughest place in college basketball to play. I can already hear them. We beat you. You're the SEC champs, and you let Big Bro come in here and beat you. So, in my opinion, beating Alabama next Saturday is way more important than that SEC tournament championship. Because, hey, look, Alabama, what did they do last year? They lost out in the SEC tournament. They made the run to the Final Four. The SEC tournament doesn't hold value. I said that last year when we won it, and everybody was like, oh, we're SEC tournament. Yeah, it's cool to win the championship, right? It's cool. But you can't follow it up with a dud against Yale. That diminished the whole thing right there. I don't even care about it anymore. Like, when people are like, yeah, we won the SEC, I'm like, who cares? We lost to Yale 5 days later.
And let me add to this real quick, Blake. Let's say that Auburn has let's say Auburn loses in the second round this year. Okay, so you get like a 1 seed, you beat the 16 seed. Let's say, but you don't even make it out the first weekend this year.
Oh,
wouldn't the narrative be, hey man,
we'd be cooked?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you got it doesn't. You got to continue to do it. Like in the NHL, they have a thing called the President's Cup. It goes to the team that had the best regular season record.
Yeah.
Don't nobody want the damn President's Cup, brother.
Yeah.
They want that Stanley.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of 8 seeds beat 1 seeds in the NHL playoffs recently. Like, it's been crazy. But that's just my thing, is like, getting to the Final Four is way more important than an SEC tournament championship. And I'm the type of Auburn fan, I will always put when we play Alabama, it means more than anything to me. All right. That now the national championship, if we were to go on and win the national championship, obviously. But as far as like going into any game, football, baseball, basketball, softball, when we line up against Alabama, it is way more important than lining up against Tennessee or whoever else you want, Ole Miss, whatever. That Alabama game, I'm from the state of Alabama. I've lived here my whole life, and I'll die here. That means something to me, dog. Like it's got a little extra juice to it. And I would much rather beat Alabama than go on in the SEC tournament and all that crap. Like that's just because I can already hear them. Like I said, Dustin, I can already hear what they're gonna say, bro.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna get in there and be like, "Well, yeah, you won the SEC championship, but we come into Neville and waxed y'all." I don't want that to happen. I want to sweep them, and it'll also another reason Alabama Auburn holds value next Saturday is because Bruce Pearl's 5-6 against Nate Oates right now.
Yeah.
If he wins Saturday, it's a tie ball game. Both guys are 6-6 against each other. It's a tie ball game. Let's see what happens. Could Auburn top it all off with a national championship this year? Like, there's a lot on the line, man. That's why it holds more value than the SEC tournament to me.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there, Blake. I think that the one thing it's important to remember in that discussion is that the story's not complete. So once the story's complete and we can read the whole book, then we can make a judgment on it. Me and you have both said this a million times. If Auburn beats Yale, wins their second round game last year, and then goes on and loses a close game to UConn in the Sweet 16, then we say, hey, we won the SEC tournament. We made it to the Sweet 16. Great season. But when you lose the first round to an Ivy League school, then it kind of makes the whole it's about looking at the whole story. It's about looking at the whole picture. So yeah, and then like Blake said, at the end of the day, the committee said they don't care.
They don't care about it.
It doesn't matter if we care. They've said it.
Yeah, they showed us.
They've shown it in their seedings, and they've gone on camera and said they don't care.
Yep.
Unless you're a team like Arkansas, where you're like, all right, bro, we're floating and we need some wins. Now Kentucky, I think they're in, but they need some wins. Unless you're one of those teams. But Florida, their resume is complete.
Yeah, it's done.
Good. Yep. Florida's good, baby. Auburn's good. Bama's good. It hurt them as far as SEC championship regular season, but I lost to Tennessee yesterday. The committee is going to look at it and say, Bama lost on a buzzer beater on the road to Tennessee. Cool.
Yep.
It's not going to affect their seeding at all. They think the exact same thing about Alabama. They don't think any different about Alabama after they lost that game to Tennessee yesterday. The committee's shown us what they value at this point. So, look, I want Auburn to win every single game.
Yeah.
But like, and I'm not gonna be mad if we win the SEC tournament, like cool beans. But the SEC regular season, man, is an 18-game grind in a year where this league just night in and night out has been a bloodbath, and we've got beat bad one time, like to the team that if we're not the best team in the country, they might be the best team in the country. Like, so, it's just I'm just with you on that one, man.
And you cut a 20.
Keith.
Yeah, 100%. Keith always shows love in here, man, and he always brings up great topics like this one. Like that's the reason I had to pull it up. And in that Florida game, you cut that lead from 22 to 9. Not a lot of teams do that. A lot of teams would have laid down and they'd have got the crap beat out of them that day. This one too is like it kind of leads to my point of. Apparently, I'm the only one that wants an undisputed SEC title to kick off either a Final Four or a Natty run. I'm not saying that I want Auburn to just lose.
Right.
But when we go into the SEC tournament, if we were to lose, I'd be like, okay, cool, like keep it pushing. Keep it pushing. If we win, I'm going to be like, hey, cool, SEC tournament champs. Cool, keep it pushing. Like, it's not going to sway me either way. It's just a tournament for Only thing in basketball these conference tournaments are for mid majors.
Yeah.
They win them and solidify their seeding into the NCAA tournament. For the power conferences, like I said, the only thing they mean is if Arkansas is on the bubble and they want to secure their spot into the tournament, they got to go win the tournament. That's it, man.
Look
That's
at the
it.
football conversation. Now they expanded the playoff in college football, and now people like Lane Kiffin and other head coaches are coming out and saying, "I don't even think I want to go to the SEC title." Not like
Yeah,
Ole Miss will ever go anyway, but they're saying like, "Hey, look, I would rather not even. That's like an
yeah,
extra playoff game. I'd rather do what Tennessee did this year." And get in that way and still be in the playoff and not have to play that game. And if the basketball genie came down today and said, Dustin, here's the deal. Auburn's going to lose the first game of the SEC tournament or the second game, but I can guarantee you a deep run in March Madness. I'm going to take that and I'm going to tell you why. Because would you rather play two more games? All right, so in this scenario, let's say this genie tells you Auburn's already got the 1 seed locked up.
yeah.
You're already the number 1 seed in the country for
That's
the
it.
big dance. Get me out the SEC tournament early. I'm not pulling for Auburn to lose, but I don't want 3 more games for somebody like Denver Jones to get a bone bruise or for
Yep.
Janai to re-aggravate his ankle when we have nothing to gain.
There's
When we
nothing to
have
gain.
nothing to gain. We're already at the top. So I don't want to keep playing more games and giving our guys more chances of getting hurt. I mean, we've had some scary moments this year. Janai with the shoulder, Janai with the ankle, Denver the other day. We've Chad Baker Mazzara. We've said it
It,
before. He dies once or twice a game. So, I just let's just get to where at this point our resume is complete, man. I want to beat
yeah.
Bama. I don't even really want to see Buzz. I don't ever want to see Buzz in A&M. I want to beat Bama and I want to get to the big show, Blake.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's kind of a like people are gonna agree and disagree on it.
Yeah, for sure.
It just I've always lived on that hill, man, and I'll die up there. Is the conference tournament just doesn't hold any weight, and once they showed us their colors on how they felt about it, and you pretty much already had people seated, regardless of what happened in the tournament. Like I don't care about it, and you know if we win it, we win it. I would love for Auburn to end up with 2 losses the rest of the way out. But guess what? If we end up with 3 and that loss happened in the conference tournament, I would be okay with it. And we win a national championship. I would 100% be okay with it.
Yeah, then get ready to make that run. Let's look at some of
Yeah.
these comments before we get out of here, guys. Please hit that thumbs up, sub if you haven't already. I see some of you guys talking about the big win over Oregon State yesterday. We're definitely going to have some baseball content coming out for you guys soon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, man, it's on Flow Baseball for $20 a month, and we just won't even get on that soapbox today because me and Blake might be up there a while.
Sucks.
Bruce Pearl is all the data you need. Says losing on a half-court shot to give your rival the outright SEC championship is hilarious. That's the kind of luck Auburn usually has. Love that for them. They get to enjoy it. Yeah, man. You make a great point. That's usually something that would happen to Auburn.
Bury 'em.
Like that's an Auburn scenario. And we know there's no love lost between Bama and Tennessee. So for Bama to give Auburn the outright SEC championship on a Tennessee buzzer beater, hey, every now and then, like Auburn Jesus, are you up there? Are you back? Is he back? Is he made an appearance? Is he? Because I ain't seen Auburn Jesus, brother, since I guess the kick 6, maybe. Is he back? Come on.
We got to I know a lot of people don't follow baseball, but we got to go to Omaha twice, and that was pretty exciting for me. Just because we're at a disadvantage when it comes to baseball, and seeing us dogpile on Oregon State's field when they were the number 3 team in the country, and Sonny DeShare and what he did for the baseball program, that was pretty cool for me. But yeah, like football, basketball wise, man, like just seeing that 2019 run to the Final Four, like it's been a minute. Like you can start backtracking for Auburn Jesus. You're right.
Well, I was
it's
talking about
been
like
tough.
luck. Well, I was talking about just like
Oh yeah, oh yeah,
pure
yeah,
luck
yeah.
because that baseball team was good.
Yeah, they were. They were.
Yeah, they were
And
good.
what's crazy though is like that team. I here you go. Here you go. That team shit the bed in the SEC baseball tournament. They lost their very first game to Kentucky.
They did, bro. They did to Kentucky.
To
They
Kentucky.
did.
They shit the
Yep.
bed in
Yeah.
the SEC baseball
Right.
tournament.
That's right. And we were all like, what?
And we were like, man, this team, because you
Yeah.
remember they went to Lexington the last SEC series of the year, and
Yep.
they lost 2 out of 3. Then they turned around and played Kentucky in Hoover, and they got beat again. And everybody was like, oh my God, the world's coming to an
Yep.
end. They lost in the SEC tournament. They were supposed to win the SEC tournament or play for the championship and all this stuff, and then they went to Omaha.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
There you
Sonny
go. That
DeChambeau had a solo home run. He was the only run of the game. Yep.
Yep, yep. And that right there puts the icing on the cake for the SEC tournament argument, in my opinion, is it holds zero weight.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Brett says, I've had one of the best weekends of my life, and on my birthday weekend made
Yeah,
it even more special. Wardem Eagle and Go Stars. Brett, longtime member, supports everything that we do at the Warport Network.
yeah,
Become a good friend of mine. Greatly appreciate you, Brett. He went up to Dallas, went and saw Auburn have one hell of a weekend on the baseball diamond. Got to see
yeah.
his Dallas Stars win an NHL game. So Brett's having a good weekend. Happy birthday, buddy. We're glad that you've had a safe trip. We're glad that you're having a good time. And look, and I'll be honest with y'all, I've gone on trips based around sporting events and then gone and done other stuff in the city and all that. If my team loses, I hate the whole trip. I hate the whole trip. But when your team
Yeah.
wins, it makes the trip all the more worth it. So, Brett, glad you're enjoying your time out there in Texas, man, and you're seeing them Dubs and Go Stars, or at least when y'all are playing anybody that ain't the Bolts. Daniel says Auburn upset Oregon State yesterday. Yeah, like I said, we will definitely touch on that. Daryl says, War damn Eagle fellas, people saying this could historically be the best conference in college basketball, and we won it outright with 2 games to spare.
Yep.
And Daryl, I want to tell you, thank you. Anytime that we put anything out on social media, you always share it, retweet it, and that does help the algorithm, man. And I do notice you, and I do appreciate that you're in here every single show, showing love. Thank you, buddy. And yeah, man, it really is just incredible. And it's like me and Blake talked about last week when Blake said, "Let's enjoy the ride." I think it was a great point
Yeah.
that Blake made. Like, let's just enjoy the ride. We do know job's not finished. It's about to be that time to where it's time to put on the business suit and clock in. But yeah, it's been fun, man. It's been a real fun season. Teresa says, "I graduated from high school in 1988. So you graduated. That was the last time. I was still 3 years from being around. My pops was still getting drunk on the creek somewhere out in Bruton, Alabama, living his wild boy lifestyle, doing his thing. But I know he was repping the Auburn Tigers back then. So yeah, Teresa, glad that you finally got to see it. Right, glad that you finally got to see it, and hopefully we've seen some streaks. Unfortunately, we had to go through the Baton Rouge thing in football. We had to go through this Gainesville thing in basketball. Now that I hope we get fixed next year, I think I'm gonna go down there for that one. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go down there for that one. We're gonna see if we can turn that around my damn self. If I gotta run on, if I gotta run onto the court and take the air out of the ball or something. But yeah, man, big win yesterday. A long time coming. We are now 3-51 there all time. Like, oh my god.
Yep.
I was screaming, please get that stat off the like. The world does not need to see that.
It's been 2 opposite programs though. So for a long time, it's been 2 completely opposite programs, and now the playing field is 50-50. So
yeah, for sure. But it's still, and we only play there like every other year, so it's not like Bruce gets the opportunity to go in there. Some years Kentucky comes to Auburn, some years Auburn goes. So it's not like we get that chance every single year.
Yeah.
Nate says special day when Semo hit a 3 and nothing. This Semo, man, you doubted Semo. I knew he was wetting it. I never had a doubt Semo was putting that thing in.
Hey, once again, Semo, Janai. Look, Janai only had 9, and your boy Semo put up 5. He's always going to bring something, man. He's always going to step up. It's not the prettiest. It's just a guy that knows his role, and he bought in to what Bruce Pearl preaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you love to see a kid like that.
Keith, it says sitting around the airport headed back home after going to Rupp yesterday. So
That's
Keith,
dope.
was a witness to
That's
the
dope.
situation, man. Then we had to listen on the radio, and I heard you guys, Keith. I heard y'all loud and proud in those last couple minutes. Never ever did I think there would be a day when the Auburn Tigers took over Rupp Arena on the court and in the stands. And I saw it yesterday. Well, for a large part of it, and I had to listen to the last part of it. But Keith, big shout out to you, man. Thank you for always being in here and supporting the podcast, supporting our content out on social media as well, and just being a great Auburn fan, traveling out to Lexington and supporting the boys, man.
Yeah,
More
man.
than equal. Glad you got to see that, and we appreciate you helping the boys out. Kyle has now been a member for 6 months. We appreciate that, Kyle. Dog looking good with a little Auburn outfit on right there. We are all witnesses to Auburn history, he says, and our guy Keith was as well. So big shout out to everybody that made it up there and made that trip. You guys were loud. Jason says, since the loss to UF, we only have trailed our opponents for about a total of 4 minutes. Jason sounds like a good basketball team to me.
Mm,
We must be pretty damn good at this basketball thing.
mm.
And yeah, like Blake, people got mad at Blake. He said we needed to get our ass whipped.
Man, I ain't even gonna get on that. Ain't even gonna, I mean, they got on my ass on TikTok. Just, man, you don't have to lose. Losing doesn't. No, you need to reset because you were getting cocky. All right, there was a point where Auburn was getting cocky, bro. And if you couldn't see it, you need to take off the orange and blue glasses.
Yeah.
And there was a point where Auburn was just going into games and acting like they didn't give a damn. And them getting checked at home. I'm glad it happened at home too. It happened at home because there was another little Auburn podcast out there. I don't know the name of it, but they were saying that Auburn might go 18-0 in the SEC and they weren't going to lose at home. And when I heard it, I was like, I don't know, man. They got Florida at home. They got Bama at home. Like, I wouldn't be saying all that, you know. And they got checked at home. And I think that just sent them back to the drawing board. And Bruce said, hey, we need to lock back in. Losing can help you. It helped Ohio State in football, didn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think it did. It helped them in football. Losing can help you. It can make you say, hey, man, we're not getting it done right now.
Yeah, and then so we say we meet Florida down the line again, which is a very, very strong possibility. Got a little motivation. Got a little motivation that Auburn has not been shy about letting people know when they put belt to ass. Well, Florida put belt to ass, so
Yep.
I think Auburn has every reason to be fired up if that
Yep.
rematch comes around again. Will Auburn only have 2 losses? I'm gonna say no. I think you still got one, maybe two more coming. I think he got one more coming in the regular season. I think he got one more probably coming in the SEC tournament. And then, yeah, and then I think there's no reason for this team to not make a run to the Elite Eight, to the Final Four. It's called March Madness for a reason. So, kind of once you get to that point, anything goes. But I'm going to say no on this. I think Auburn loses one or two more games before the tournament starts. Just a lot of tough teams ahead, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough to say. You know, I'm with you. I think they lose maybe one more game, just depending on this week what they do. Is Denver going to play? There's a lot that goes into it, right? But if this team doesn't make the Final Four, it's an absolute failure. If this team, I'll put it to you, if this team doesn't make the national championship game, that's the amount that I'm willing to go, just because of how long you've been so dominant. I laid that out earlier. You've spent 8 weeks at number one, and you spent another 4 at number two. That's 12 weeks, y'all. That's 12 weeks of just being absolutely dominant. So if you don't make the Final Four national championship game, this is a failure. You got to get there, man, because you can't be king all year and then go into the Sweet 16 and lose to San Diego State or lose to FAU or somebody like that. Like, it just can't happen, you know.
Some of the younger viewers may not remember this, but back in 04 with the football team, it was the Tennessee game. It was the trip
Mm-hmm.
up to Tennessee where I sat back and said, you know what? And my dad, I was like 12 or 13 at the time. My dad, longtime Auburn fan, we're on the way back home from the game, and he said, "Man, son, we got a team. Like this is different.
Yeah.
This is different, and your expectations this year should be different." And I just you just kind of feel that. I just feel, after Maui, I was like, man, this team is just. This is a national. This needs to be a national championship, man. If we're gonna do it, then this is the year to do it. And
Yeah.
a lot of people like this. A lot of I the tweet that I got that went super viral. I said I'm 33 years old, and Auburn hasn't even beat Kentucky and Lexington in my lifetime, and I'm about to miss it because ESPN sucks. Paraphrasing what I said.
Yeah.
And one of the comments underneath it said, "You're 33 years old. Well, at least you're the same age as the Auburn players." Funny, I guess. Cute quip. Listen, I love Walker Kessler. I love Jabari Smith. They were young studs. I didn't like a second round exit to an experienced Miami team, a veteran, old Miami team.
Yep.
I don't care. I want to win the championship. If them boys are 42 years old, if they got eligibility, it don't make a damn to me. We're trying to win a
Yep.
title. Bruce Pearl knows what it takes to win a title. He's seen experienced teams eliminate us, less talented, but more experienced teams eliminate us in March. He says enough is enough. This is the roster. This is the year. He's built it up. And I'm going to end it on this one. Thomas says, all that matters is the natty, because there was a great NASCAR driver named Ricky Bobby that said, if you ain't first, you're last, baby.
You're last.
If you ain't first, you're last. Oh, hell, Ricky, I was hiding and said that.
He said, I lived my whole life by that, Dad.
Look, man, this team, yes, bro. For this team, we talk about it with football, man. It's like when we say, I'm not mad that Auburn didn't go 10-2, or like we try to talk people off the ledge every preseason. Auburn's not going 10-2, but it's not 5-7, right? Like it's about reasonable expectations. Again, last year's team. If last year's team would have just beat Yale and then would have not made it any farther, that would have made sense. There was holes in that team. The team before that, they went as far as they could go.
Yeah.
Who'd we beat in the first round? I already forget, but we won the first round game and lost to Houston.
No, we beat Iowa that year. We lost to Houston.
Yeah, so Iowa in the first round and then blew it in the second half to Houston. Losing in the second half to Houston sucked, being up by double digits, but they were the better team and it made sense. I didn't leave that year going, Bruce Pearl got everything he could out of that team.
Facts.
That made sense.
Facts.
For this team, yes, Thomas Manville. Natty. This is a natty team. That should be the goal. That's the resume they've built. That's what they put on tape for this year. That's all that matters, man.
I agree with Thomas. All that matters is the natty, and y'all might get mad at me for this one, but it's funny to me when Auburn fans pick at Alabama for 2017. I hear Auburn football fans, we beat you in 2017. We beat you in 2017. And I'm like, hey, chill. They're like, wow, we beat them. And I'm like, they come back and won the national championship. All right. Chill out. No, we beat them, though. We beat them. Yeah, we beat them. But then we went to Atlanta the next week and we lost to Georgia, which put more salt in the wound. And then we had to watch Georgia come back and beat Oklahoma. We had to watch Alabama beat Clemson. And then them two playing the national championship.
A further argument about this SEC tournament. Bama didn't even have to go participate in the SEC championship that year. We weren't able to beat Georgia twice, and they were able to slide on in.
Hold zero value.
And get the big one, right? And get the big one. So, it's a crazy, crazy world. A different discussion for a different day. We're going to get out of here. I'm really interested to see what happens to conference championships in football.
Yep.
I think they're meaningless at this point.
They were basically going to hold it against Georgia this year. They were like, "Hey, Georgia might not." There was people out there saying that Georgia didn't deserve to go to the playoffs if they lost to Texas in the SEC title game. And then you had the opposite side of SMU. Right. Like they were saying, well, if SMU keeps it close, we're not going to penalize them for playing. And they're like, well, you just told us that Georgia, it's just.
Yeah, it's not black and white. It's not black and white. There's a lot of gray out there in today's college sports. We thank you guys for watching. Big historic win for our Auburn Tigers, man. Let's go get a baseball tournament win today. I
Yeah.
guess this was on Flow Baseball as well. So if you do got that, check it out. If not, tune in to Brad Law and them over at the radio network. Blake's going to do some film breakdown for you guys if the film gets released.
Yeah.
If the film from the tournament gets released, Blake will break down some film for you guys. I am back on vacation, or from vacation, so I will drop some film stuff for you guys this week as well. Some recruiting info and all that, because that time of year is about to heat up. And I just want to say, this kind of reminds me. Just want to say, man, Hugh Freeze, praying for you. Absolutely, definitely in my thoughts and prayers, man, and all that kind of stuff. Very sad news, but from everything that I have been told and has been reported, publicly, he's got. They think they found it early. They think he's going to be good to go. There's not really any big concerns there. And from what I know about Hugh Freeze and what I've already kind of heard from some people around the recruiting game, he's still doing his thing. He's still on that phone. He's still working that trail. And we know that he's got the best care available. And so we're praying for Hugh Freeze. We're praying for his family and for a quick recovery with everything going on over there. It just kind of makes you feel good, I guess, that he's at least at a place where Bruce Pearls puts so much emphasis on testicular cancer, on identifying it early. Like, I think our university and our community is kind of ready for that and knows how to handle it and puts a big emphasis on it. So I feel good and confident that Hugh Freeze is going to come out and be healthy. But that is a scary situation. So we're praying for you, Coach Freeze, and a quick recovery for sure.
100%, man. 100% down with all that you said about Coach Freeze, and hopefully we can get him back to a clean bill of health, and he can focus on his job at hand with the Auburn football program. So we're praying for you, man. Love you.
Absolutely. All right. So some more content coming out for our members this week. We will see you guys Tuesday night. It is War Damn Eagle. We'll catch you on the next one. We're out.
War damn, baby.